What's up everyone, this is Donnie aka Elevated with another TI9 team preview, and this one we're going to be talking about Virtus Pro. There has been a lot of talk about Team Secret being the clear number one team this year, but if there is one team that can challenge them for that title, it has to be VP. Virtus Pro started off the year very hot by winning the Kuala Lumpur Major, following it up with a second place at the Chinese Major, and also another second place at Dream League. Less than halfway through the DPC season, they had already secured themselves a top 3 slot via points and a clear berth at the International. So it's actually pretty impressive how strongly they finished the season with a 7th to 8th place at the MDL Major in Paris and a 3rd place at Epicenter. I have to imagine that the Epicenter placement is a little disappointing for Virtus Pro, as it's the 4th Epicenter tournament and they have yet to win in front of the home crowd. Still, as we've come to expect from the squad, it was an amazing season. Now, as great as Virtus Pro has been over the last couple of seasons, they have had a very hard time succeeding at the International, finishing 5th to 6th place at the last 2 events, but in spite of the disappointing run last year, Virtus Pro decided to stick together, and for the most part this season it has been business as usual for one of the game's top teams. What makes VP special is their discipline in a region known for wild games and big throws. And while that particular beast still certainly lurks in the Virtus Pro boys, they are one of the cleanest teams in the business. A lot of that discipline stems from the veteran leadership of Solo, who has managed to mold the brutal aggression of his players into a unique brand of suffocating pressure for their opponents. VP has routinely made a name for themselves by making good teams look terrible and forcing them to make embarrassing mistakes with their superior mechanics and crisp strategic movements. In fact, Virtus Pro have forced the entire Dota 2 scene to evolve over the past 2 seasons to try and match their pace of play and use of blanketing vision control. Solo has become synonymous with the early support rotation into the enemy jungle to place a line of wards that completely constricts where the enemy team can play. So it's actually pretty amazing that despite all of the common knowledge surrounding Virtus Pro's style, and despite all of the scrutiny for being so prominent in the scene for the last 2 years, that Virtus Pro have been able to maintain such a consistent level of excellence in their play. That is definitely an accomplishment in and of itself, but it still comes with an asterisk where TI is concerned. And it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly why VP keep coming up short, but a lot of it does seem to stem from the pressure of the situation. They have always been a deeply momentum-based team, as evidenced by their extreme focus on snowballing games from the laning stage. When they feel loose and are on a roll at a tournament, they are incredibly difficult to stop. But when they do falter, it seems like they have a very hard time picking themselves back up and coming back through the lower bracket. This can even strike mid-series, where they dominate the first game, lose the second one, and seem to be a little shell-shocked by the fact that they were able to be defeated. It'll be interesting to see how they deal with the trends in the meta, which is shifting towards slightly later games, harder carries, but we could be at that tipping point where teams have put so much focus on these late game cores that there is going to be a massive shift back towards aggression and pace of play. And if that were to happen in the middle of TI, I cannot think of a better team at executing that style of play than Virtus Pro. So let's take a minute to try and get inside the heads of the players and see where they think the meta's going and what heroes they're playing in their pubs to practice for it. If we look at No One, he has been grinding a ton of pubs, and he's been focusing mostly on these highly aggressive mid-game timing heroes. Huskar, Visage, Gyrocopter, Meepo, and even some Mars in there. The only slower paced heroes that we've really seen him play lately in pubs are Tinker and Arc Warden. The carry role hasn't had a whole lot of innovation lately, it feels like, and so Ramses has been mostly playing the classics such as Juggernaut, Lifestealer, Terrorblade, Morphling, and mixing in some Slark here and there as well. Pasha is a really interesting piece of this roster because it feels like you're almost always going to get a consistent game out of either Ramses or No One, but it does tend to feel like when Pasha is really on, he is almost carrying this team. And he can be incredibly fun to watch on heroes like Brewmaster, Pangolier, Magnus, and Beastmaster, but he's also recently been mixing in quite a bit of offlane Kunkka, which is a bit interesting. The VP supports are a catalyst for their aggressive cores to get things done around the map, and Roger has been focusing on a lot of kind of interesting heroes lately. Elder Titan, Lina, Phoenix, Dark Willow, and Techies even, while Solo has focused on the classic saving supports such as Venge, Oracle, and Shadow Demon.